3, 2, 1.
Climate crisis.
I'm Professor Dorothy Carr. I'm a composer and I write mainly for instrumental and vocal forces, but I also come together with other practitioners and researchers to explore particular topics, to find this kind of meeting point where we can come from our different perspectives and discover things that we wouldn't be able to discover just working on our own. And so in this case, our focal point has been this idea of embodiment and presence and what we can discover about human embodiment and co-presence with robots.
My name is Barraj. I'm primarily one of the developers that worked on this project alongside Andre. And last year I graduated from the AI and Computer Science course at the University of Sheffield. Working on this has been kind of different to what I did there because I've been working with everyone from a lot of different creative fields, and the goal of our development has been to kind of facilitate creativity rather than just achieve a specific goal. And we've been working with the Now robot, which is a little like couple feet tall robot. It's been weird because it's very easy to project human emotions and, I don't know, some sort of character to it. So you kind of end up getting a little attached to it.
My work with forced entertainment and my research at the University of Salford both involve using improvisation as a way of generating material for performance. I guess everybody brings their own associations to the word improvisation, but we'd probably all agree that it means making something up on the spot or working without a script or a score. There's perhaps a secondary meaning to this word, which means to fix something in a hasty or temporary way, to come up with a solution to a problem with whatever is at hand. And I guess we've all had to do quite a lot of that in our everyday lives during lockdown. We came together as a group to try and work in an improvisatory way. That is, we tested things out, we tried things, we talked about things. We didn't know exactly what we were looking for, but we responded to what we found. One central question was, can a robot be an improviser? Can AI be an integral part of an improvisatory process? Is that even the right question? And if we ask that question, what do we learn about robots and about ourselves?
Are you damaging the walls?
You know I'm recording this.
Are you recording what?
I'm recording this.
Putting up this?
Yeah, so what should you say?
That's stupid. Why are you recording this?
Because I have to.
You just told me to shut up.
Yeah, it's good. Because you're supposed to shut up.
Why?
So.
Where's the robot? Where's the robot?
If you want to help me some tape.
Robots can't have emotions. They don't have the complex processes inside them that we have or other animals have to be able to produce emotions. We're not so concerned about the emotional states inside a robot at this point. We're more interested in expression as a means of communication. We use expression to tell people about how we're feeling and what they should do about it. Even the completely fixed face on the Now can be emotionally expressive. We can have posture, we can have tone of voice and sound, we can have The lights in its eyes can communicate emotion. These pretty small changes, though, can have quite big impacts on how people actually respond to the robot. It's not so much a case of whether robots have emotions, it's whether we believe they could.
We were setting the now these impossible tasks, and we started to work with descriptions of emotions that had been improvised by people. The question of how something feels is already a human challenge. Words have a shadowy relationship with conveying the experience of a feeling. They're not emotional triggers. They don't automatically cause the thing that they're describing to be felt. This mismatch between language and feeling became more complicated as we listened to the descriptions through the robotic voice and understood that the robot could have no experience of the thing that it was trying to describe. It also became apparent that for AI, as for us humans, how something is said conveys more emotion than the words that are being said. Balraj came up with this fantastic random voice setting, and it meant that the now that we were working with would shift voices quite dramatically. It would shift between genders, sometimes sounding like a young child, sometimes sounding quite authoritative. Its voice and its identity, its vocal identity, was quite unstable and unfixed, and we liked this a lot. The random and the improvisatory are not exactly the same thing, but both processes are open and they both make work that has process built into it as part of its content.
Boredom feels sticky, prickly, feels vague discomfort in skin. An organs feels all out of form, like a landscape without features, without figures, a low buzz without words. Sadness feels shadowy, heavy, endless, suffocating, drowning. Joy feels speedy, expansive and bright and light, like a catch in the back of your throat, like a desire to run, like the unexpected ability to run or to fly. Jealousy feels sick, its stomach feels twisty inside, feels like a nettle rash, like exposed nerve ending, and like a breakage of your own doing, like a clumsy slip through fingers that you didn't have to do. Anger feels fast and fiery and like a windfall of debris. Boredom feels sticky, prickly, feels vague discomfort in skin, in organs, feels all out of form, like a landscape without features, without figures, a low buzz without words. Joy feels speedy, expansive and bright and light, like a catch in the back of your throat. A desire to run, with the unexpected ability to run or to fly. Grief feels like wasteland, like desert, like a visitor ocean. Expanse endless and pathless, and emptying out of all content. Mind and stomach parched. Jealousy feels sick at stomach, feels twisty inside, feels like a nettle rash, like exposed nerve ending, and like a breakage of your own doing, like a clumsy slip through fingers that you didn't have to do.
The now that we're using is just a physical platform. It's completely indistinct from any of the other nows out there. The only thing that makes it different is the behaviors we program into it. So it has this flexible identity of what makes it unique. A lot of research into robotics is built around the idea that robots are advanced machines or sophisticated tools. But with the development of social robotics, we can see the limitations that are there. So interacting with another agent, no matter how simple, really, we start to expect certain things from them. We have social rules, we have norms, and we expect those robots to follow them.
It's wedged in the buttery butter dish.
This next piece, it kind of came about by accident. We intended it to only have one voice or character for every emotion or sentence that it was saying. So each emotion would have a specific voice associated with it. But I didn't code it properly. So every time it would load up a new sentence ready to say, it would overwrite the voice of the old sentence. And it ended up sounding pretty cool, so we just kind of ran with it and made it load up new sentences every 2 seconds. So super frequently it's overwriting its own voice, and that led to it kind of sounding like different characters or identities were trying to take over within one utterance.
It started to sound more and more as though the now was improvising, as though it was testing out different voices, different methods of expression. And after a while, working with pauses, it started to sound like the now was struggling to speak.
Boredom. Sadness feels shattered. Grief feels like wasteland. Anger feels fast. Boredom feels stake. Jealous. Grief feels no. Boredom feels. Joy feels speeding. Pride feels like I. Sadness feels shattered. Jealous. Grief feels like weight. Sadness feels. Jealousy feels sick. Anger feels. Joy feels speak. Sadness feels shattered. Grief feels like weight.
Right comes in with blinking, thinking, blinking.
Music making draws on the deepest aspects of what it means to be human, as well as a strong sense of co-presence and interaction through a combination of sound and embodiment and movement. So the question of how musical a robot can be is a question about what we can make it be. They don't sing very well, and their manual facility for playing instruments is something that is still very much in development. Anything that happens that a robot does, which happens to appear embodied, interactive, musical, it's an illusion.
We'd achieved something playful and fluid in the now's vocal performance of gender, but we were pretty much stuck with the American accent, which came as part of the default package of the Now that we were working with. And we started to talk about how this accent was also a defining feature of the sound of the work and what we could achieve by playing with different accents.
My name is Johan Schildgrot and I'm a theatre and performance maker and a lecturer in theatre and performance at the University of Sheffield. My practice explores different experiences of uncertainty and how we perceive and encounter the world and reality. I began by clashing different robotic voices and kind of letting them glitch on purpose or overwhelm the listener.
Hey.
There's an interesting thing of listening to it for a certain amount of time, that after a certain amount of time you kind of forget about the monotonous quality of the voice and start to listen to this performer or character and think about how you might relate to that in a different way to the way in which we relate to Siri or Alexa.
What now?
What do you mean? What do you want me to say?
You can say what you want to say.
Whatever you want.
About what?
What now?
And it opened up really interesting questions of when do we relate to them as character, these monotonous robotic voices? When do we read them as something beyond this functional voice?
Blinking, 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 tinking, tinking, blinking, tinking, tinking, blinking, tinking, blinking. Blacking, 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 tinking, tinking, blacking, tinking, tinking, blacking, tinking, blacking.
Blinking, 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 sink, kink, sink, kink, blinking, sink, kink, sink, kink, blinking, sink, kink, blinking.
Breating, blinking, breating, blinking, blinking, breating, just breating, blinking. Breating, blacking, breating, blacking, blacking, breating, just breating, blacking.
Bridging, 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 just bridging, blinking.
All of what we know about Mars has been gleaned through an assemblage of data. Data about atmospheric conditions, light, topography, planetary and lunar movements. They all add up to give us a picture of the planet, but we have to put them together to simulate that.
What is it like on Mars?
Cold. Dusty. Red.
How cold?
It got to minus 88.4 Celsius last night.
This Mars piece is probably the most technically complex bit of this entire project. We're using a lot of different external APIs and a lot of different services all taped together to one little system that brings this chatbot to life properly. So we're getting live data from Mars satellites, we're getting live data on the climate crisis on Earth, we're getting live data on the pandemic on Earth, all as instant responses when we ask a question in the chatbot. So the way this works is that we have Quando, which we're using to control the robot and control all the reactions to what's said, which goes up a chain to Node Red, which communicates with IBM Watson Assistant, which is the chatbot. And then the signals get sent all the way back down.
During the summer of 2020, there's this great clamour of crafts, Perseverance, Hope and various others, heading off to Mars to gather further data. And by being able to land on Mars, they can become a little bit more tactilely knowing about Mars through cameras and microphones.
What's that? What is that?
Mars rover Perseverance, ETA, 202 days, 3 hours, 11 minutes, 0 seconds.
In this Mars scenario we've created of a human on Earth talking to a robot at a vast distance, it puts a spotlight on some of those qualities of human-robot interaction. With speech recognition, you have to train the AI, and this is what Barrage has been doing. It's a minefield. Anyone who's used an AI chatbot knows that you have to know what questions to ask. Robots think in data. They know things through data, but only the data they can access, nothing more. Our job is to create that interaction, that way of accessing the data and bringing it to life within a conversation.
Alright, systems check. Is everything okay?
I have reset my system. We can continue conversation.
Where are you? Okay, so what is your current position?
Latitude 21.649362. Longitude 214.155038.
214. Okay, time at location. What is the time at your location?
Last reading, UTC 2020-07-27 T12:26:11Z.
Alright, so I'm adding 13:48 to account for delay. Weather. What are the atmospheric conditions?
Yesterday's average temp, minus 58.691 degrees Fahrenheit, AVG pressure, 785.489 Pa, average wind speed, 6.458 m/s.
Alright, so that was yesterday, but what are they like now? What are the current conditions? The difficulty in this project didn't come where I thought it would be. The really technically flashy sounding stuff like accessing live NASA information was crazy easy, but the hardest thing was taking that Watson Assistant, which is primarily targeted at customer service chatbots and other like commercial stuff like that, and using it to develop a chatbot with a character and a distinct voice. Okay, attempting to re-establish contact. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
What is your distance from Jupiter?
I am 550,390,014 km away from Jupiter at the current time.
Venus? What is your distance from Venus?
I am 119,741,402 km away from Venus at the current time.
Okay, and what is your distance from Earth?
I am currently 78,340,791 km away from Earth. Climate crisis, current_carbon_emissions 155. Pandemic crisis, new confirmed 228693 new deaths 5,415 new recovered 175114 total confirmed 1648050 total deaths 654036 total recovered 9571968.
Mistakes leading into actual valuable things has been a pretty big theme of this project. every time we mess something up or I code something badly, it's usually led to a new development in the creative process. And I think working with Quando has really helped us do that, because it's let us really quickly explore those ideas as soon as we came up with them.
How about this poem about hope? I wrote it myself. Bright on urged your no, rely lively now expects, earnest between wished.
Yeah, not bad.
The area I study is trust in robots. And that's interesting because it's a social construct, not this mechanical process. One of the routes that I've looked at is the value of an apology following mistakes. That we've seen if a robot apologizes for its mistakes, we might look at the robot as being less useful, but honest.
We might think that robots come up with objective data, that they are these reliable purveyors of inarguable fact, but actually this idea is quite spurious. We know that AI reflects socio-political structures, that it reflects the bias of its generators. We wanted to work against this notion of the objective robot and to ask the robot to do tasks that were wrong for it. What do friends do? What do friends do?
It's easy to understand trusting a robot if all the information was kept in one place, that the robot's physical self and its identity are together. We have something coherent to trust. If that identity, if the programming and its memory of a robot is stored on some server farm over in America, well, then you're having to trust them as well as the robot itself.
Hello, I'm Silver. My internet address is 192, 168, 215. Some of my motors are too hot in my left arm.
Quite a lot of time there'll be a computer somewhere else controlling the robot, which means you can program using one robot and then take all that work you've done and just transfer it straight into another for performance, for production, whatever you might want to do. The trouble is, any time I've done that, I feel bad for the original robot, that it's, I don't know, missing out. It would be very easy to create a robot that we could empathize with if that robot's playing a character. But what Terry's doing here is not about creating robot characters, it's creating robot performers. We're not trying to make a character, we're trying to make something real.
Balraj and I were exploring tropes of doubt and uncertainty, and it became interesting to us to make the now even less sure of itself, less reliable as a source of intelligence. We were playing with the word maybe, by accident really. It was meant to be in another piece, and we were able to push at the now's intonation of this single word so that it became a little piece in its own right, both a piece about self-doubt and also a piece where it seems as though the now is learning how to speak.
Maybe. Maybe I may be, maybe I may be, I may be, maybe I may be. Maybe Maybe, maybe, I, maybe, maybe, I, maybe, I, maybe, 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 I, maybe. I don't know. Maybe, maybe, I don't know. Maybe, maybe, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, maybe, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
That's it. Yeah, I can make it touch. The Leap Motion is a little kind of that sized device that uses infrared sensors to map out your hands and all your finger bones and stuff. And what it can do is it can translate that into numbers and data that we're using to control the robot's arms. So this kind of allows us to do a real-time hands-free puppeteering of the robot, which is really instinctive.
The Now's movements and its interpretation of Terry's movements is really noisy. It doesn't match up so great. It's not synchronous at times, but that's important in its own way. So in development of the piece, in practice and rehearsals, I've seen this kind of relationship develop where Terry's looking over at Now carefully, slowly. It's almost sort of like parental or like a teacher or a tutor, that there's that care and attention, that attempt to build that connection. And as much as Terry's leading Now with the movements, it seems that Now is directing Terry to what it needs. If the Now was programmed so it could match Terry's movements perfectly in a pre-programmed way, it would look great. We would have this synchronicity occurring, but it wouldn't be real. There wouldn't be a connection because there's nothing for Terry to connect with. We're not trying to build a perfect robot that moves in the right paces. I think we're looking for chemistry.
Tchaikovsky's little piano piece, Chanson Triste, has this very even, melancholic quality with the sense of a gentle, resting pulse. And I found myself mining it for little crystals to play with, to take in another direction, whether speeding up, slowing down. And these acted as prompts for Manon to improvise on the harp and to take deeper into the particular emotive qualities. So what you hear is Manon working with this material and improvising these emotional ideas.
For something as simple as synchronized movement, there's this big interest in psychology about it. There's a lot of research that suggests it's important for building love. Now, that's not love in like necessarily a romantic sense, but that sense of knowing someone, like properly knowing someone, being connected. As a species, humans seek to control things. We control all aspects of our environment. We've tamed so much of the world. But the key parts of the world that actually affect us, that we grow up with, other people, their thoughts, their decisions, those things, well, we can't even access, let alone control. So there's this contradiction that we've got to navigate. That's what being human is. And I think the way we go about that is through trust. Just placing our trust in others, in that uncontrollable, unknowable, and trusting that they'll do the same.